This week, Nick Percoco, Chief Security Officer at Kraken, joins us for an interview to discuss the intersection of cybersecurity and cryptocurrency. Robert Lemos, cybersecurity and data journalist even, joins us for a discussion on cybersecurity and journalism. In the security news, NPM NetMask library has a critical bug. When AI attacks, firmware attacks on the rise, Microsoft HoloLens in Order 66, a real executive order 13694, the Ubiquity breach saga, and also the FreeBSD WireGuard saga. So we have two sagas to cover. And is the cloud more secure? Hopefully for PHP software updates, limit muscles cars to 3 horsepower, a brand new Windows 95 Easter egg just in time for, well, Easter, and aging wine in space. Does it make a difference? All that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. When it comes to web app and API security, the choice is simple. You can choose Fastly's security solution that teams will actually use in full blocking mode, just like 90% of their customers. Or you can stick with costly options that you probably just turn off. You can get Fastly's all-in-one platform that protects apps everywhere they live, however they're built. Or departments can agree to disagree. You can go to securityweekly.com/Fastly to learn more. Or you can just wish you had.
And welcome to the show. But first, let me introduce you to a man who I completely forgot what witty saying I was going to say before the show about Mr. Asadorian. Paul.
Welcome, everyone, to Paul's Security Weekly. Larry's having some short-term memory issues. This is episode 689, recorded April 1st.
Who am I?
2021, right here in G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island. To my left, Mr. Larry Pesce is here with us.
Who are you?
Doing all right, Larry?
I totally had something when we were sitting in the other room having dinner, and I'm like, that's going to be it. And I got here, and I'm like, Johnny's like, one commercial, and I'm like,
oh, should have wrote it down.
Yep. No, you don't. I never write it down. It's always last minute.
It's always off the cuff. Except today. This week it was off the cuff. It just wasn't. No cuffs. I got you. On the lines remotely, Mr. Jeff Mann is here with us.
What? What are we doing? Hello?
Is this thing on?
I'm with you, Larry.
Next slide, please.
Foggy.
Next slide, please.
That is your name, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
And now we go to our Idaho correspondent. Mr. Lee Neely is here with us. Lee, welcome.
Good to be here, I think, but where the hell am I?
God, this is going to be a wild show. Our other Idaho correspondent, Mr. Tyler Robinson, is here with us. Tyler, welcome.
You guys are all full of it tonight. See how this is going to go.
Yes, it's going to be a fun ride. Let's see, quick announcement. Do you have a specific guest or topic you'd like us to cover on one of the upcoming shows? If so, submit your suggestions for guests by visiting securityweekly.com/guest. Complete that form, and we review those submissions on a regular basis. Here with us this evening, Nick Percoco, Chief Security Officer at Kraken, has been an active member of the security industry for over 2 decades, working as both a security practitioner and advisor. He's presented research on targeted malware, iOS and Android vulnerabilities, and IoT security events such as DEF CON, Black Hat RSA, and South by Southwest. Nick, welcome to the show. Welcome back,
hey guys.
I should say.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for having me.
It's been a long time since you've been on the show. It's nice to have you back.
Yeah, thank you.
He's grown a significantly more epic beard since the last time.
We barely recognize him.
Yeah, I probably did not have a beard last time, so this is pretty.
I love the beard.
A new look for you guys.
So, Nick, I guess maybe for some of our new listeners, talk a little bit about how you got into information security and kind of overview how you landed today at doing crypto mining security. Did I say that right?
Well, it's cryptocurrencies. Yeah, so Kraken is a global cryptocurrency exchange. We bring cryptocurrency to more than 6 million clients around the world, and it's an exchange. Where it's similar to like a stock exchange, but you're trading cryptocurrency. And so clients come to our site every single day, and they trade Bitcoin for Ethereum or US dollars for Litecoin, whatever they're interested in, and we facilitate billions of dollars of transactions over. I think the first 2 months of this year, we did over 100 billion in transactions on our exchange.
When you started your career, could you ever envision that this is what you'd be doing today for cryptocurrency?
No, because cryptocurrency wasn't even a thing when I started my career. Right? Yeah,
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, how I got into security really was, I think IRC brought me into security. I ran an EFNet IRC server in the 90s and used to have to deal with exploits and fend off different issues and bot attacks and all sorts of things, all sorts of fun back then. And so started getting deep into security because of that, and also a computer science degree as well. And then landed my first gig out of college, managing and deploying firewalls and remote access gateways for companies. And so that was my first foray. This was in the 90s, and then just got deep into ethical hacking, penetration testing, whatever people call it, and was a pen tester at a somewhat well-known internet security company known as Internet Security Systems. That's really started to cut my teeth in the security world.
That's awesome. And you're also very involved. You're in Chicago, right? Is that true?
Yes.
Very involved in the community out there.
Oh yeah, certainly. I created a conference out in Chicago known as ThoughtCon. So I think some of you guys have attended. Some of you guys have spoke. Nice. It's a fun conference. It started as a small little event held in a bar with like 115 people. And this year, the ThoughtCon B, it's numbered by hex. This is ThoughtCon B coming up. It was supposed to happen last year, but because of COVID, we had to delay it. We're looking to have it in October, and we'll probably have about 1,800 people at it this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great. So, Nick, I am not the world's foremost expert in cryptocurrency or blockchain. So I tend to go to like different sources to help keep it fresh in my brain and understand it. And recently I was watching a recent documentary. I apologize if I forget the name, but they were describing blockchain technology, specifically cryptocurrency, wallets, as there's like you go into a bank and you have a safe deposit box, except there's this huge wall of safe deposit boxes and they're all digital, and you have a key to your safe deposit box and you can digitally transfer funds from your safe deposit box to someone else's. I wanted to start and just ask, is that a fair analogy?
Yeah, I think at that level, it definitely is. I think, it is it's public and private key technology. If people are familiar with that type of cryptographic technology, it's very much that way, where you hold your private keys private, and you have a public key or multiple public keys that you can generate and share. And then if someone sends funds to your public key, it will go into your wallet that you control. So it very much is you being your own bank, essentially, because you control, you have 100% control over those keys and over your wallet itself. There isn't anybody who can say, we need to siphon funds from your wallet, or we're going to garnish some wages out of your cryptocurrency wallet. That can't happen if you are custodying those funds yourself.
What are your thoughts on like some of the intentions? Like, was it specific from a people or a group, or was it kind of like lofty intent? Like, we want to make currency not backed by gold like it is here in the U.S., have a new form of currency? Was it criminals going, we want a way to be able to pay each other without having to be on the books? Was it, for NFTs as we're seeing recently? Did they even envision all of these use cases? What's your opinion on kind of the origins?
Yeah, I certainly don't think the intent was for criminal groups. When the Bitcoin paper, right, was written by Satoshi, it wasn't. It wasn't the intent. There was a digital cash type system that would be owned by nobody, right? It just it lives and it's there for humanity to use, and I think that's the vision and the intent, where there isn't anybody who can control it. It's not through a bank. If I want to send you funds. If I want to send you some Bitcoin, I can send them to you directly on the Bitcoin blockchain, and it does not go through a bank. It doesn't even have to go through an exchange like Kraken. And so that's the intent there. Now, there have been versions of that, right? There was e-gold. There were some things that sort of led up to this, that were more used on the fringe, and versus today where it's used.
E-gold was more criminals, I think, is what
it definitely was. Yeah, that definitely was.
Does cryptocurrency suffer from the same type of inflation, or no? Because it's not backed by anything. So it's not, if it is inflation, it's not the same kind of inflation, right?
No, well, yeah, I think so many of the, so it depends, right? So, many of the cryptocurrency, tokens out there or assets. So Bitcoin is one of them, Ethereum, Litecoin, Doge. You probably have heard of Doge.
Yep.
Elon, I think, tweeted about it today, about sending some Doge to Mars. They're all similar, but they're all different. They all have possibly different technology, underlying technology. Some of them are forks of the same projects. Also, they could have various different purposes, right? So, like you mentioned, NFTs. There are some blockchains out there that are coming online or are online that are optimized for NFTs. They're not going to be it's not going to cost massive amounts of resources or massive amounts of value to like process a transaction if I want to trade an NFT with somebody else. And so there are various purposes, but certainly Bitcoin specifically it protects against inflation because there is a set number of Bitcoins, right? There won't be any more than 21 million. Right?
So we can't just print more money. Like
no, you just can't. You can't just rev up the Bitcoin printing machine,
right?
And then print 2 trillion Bitcoin if you wanted, right? That's just not possible.
So in that light segueing off that, do you believe there are governments, the U.S. I think especially, that believe it kind of threatens the value of the dollar or the global economy, which is of course a very different monetary system? Yeah,
I mean, I think there are probably people that have maybe that opinion. I don't know. I think it's different. I think it gives people some financial freedom, or gives people lots of financial freedom. In many cases, there's many people that the world considers like the unbanked or the unbankable, where they just, for any particular reason, they can't get a bank account, they can't get a credit card. But they can get a cryptocurrency wallet. They can download one off the internet, or download it in the App Store, or buy a hardware wallet, and they can transact with other people, and especially people that live in places where we have a luxury in the U.S. where the dollar doesn't fluctuate that much in value. But imagine in countries where the currency goes wildly out of control, where you go to the grocery store and the loaf of bread's equivalent of $1 today, and then tomorrow it's $20. And then the next day,
Venezuela, right? It's like the economy.
Where things go wildly out of control. I mean, having your net worth or your whatever money you do have in a currency that that has value is probably very advantageous to some of those people. Yeah.
So, but you still have to pay taxes once you convert it to U.S. dollars, right?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, certainly there is. Just like any other investment or any other instrument. I mean, the IRS is asking questions about that now, right? So that I think on the tax return this year, they ask if you've bought, sold, or held any cryptocurrency in the year 2020. And so they are starting to get to that place. But yeah, certainly if you bought a bunch of Bitcoin at $1,000 and last year you sold it at 45,000, you need to pay some taxes on those gains. Yeah, right. Yeah, certainly that's what the government says.
So you could run a business. I think there was like a coffee shop in Amsterdam or some Germany like that was running, like they accepted Bitcoin and like encouraged everyone to pay in Bitcoin, but they'd have to take it out in their local currency to like pay their bills and stuff like that, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, people do that, right? I mean, and that's why they come to like a place like Kraken, right? So they may get paid in Bitcoin, or maybe they have a bunch of Bitcoin that's been sitting around for years, and now they're looking to convert it. And change it to U.S. dollars or euro or Australian dollar, whatever they feel like or they need to, and then they can withdraw it. We're one of the exchanges in the world where we have lots of what would be considered like fiat on ramps or off ramps. And fiat, compared to cryptocurrency, it's just cash. It's just like U.S. dollars, where you can go in many countries where you can have an account on Kraken. Deposit your Bitcoin, convert it to say euros, and then connect your bank account and move it out, and move it into your account or wire it into your account. And so,
or I mean, if you're buying a Tesla, you don't need to anymore, right? Because they're accepting Bitcoin.
Yeah. You can just use your hardware wallet to sign a transaction to send it to Elon and get yourself a Tesla.
Yeah. That's cool. What happens if you lose your crypto wallet? Tyler.
That's so well.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
Sorry, Tyler. Tyler, how do you have a dollar amount that you are willing to admit on air? Is what's on that? Is it a USB drive or a crypto wallet?
Millions.
Oh,
Multi-millions.
Oh wow.
he's
So
throwing
you,
it.
you,
Yeah, I bought it back in 2009. So
yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. That's a.
Nick's like, I can come over and help you look for it.
Finder's fee.
Finder's fee.
Yeah, I mean that's the difference, I think, and this is where I think generationally things will change. Sort of in sort of the world where most of us are very used to having a wallet full of credit cards or have debit cards or have checks, and if someone steals your wallet or someone steals your credit card and goes on a shopping spree, as a consumer, you don't really care. Right, like it's only the most you care. Yeah, you have no liability, right? So the most you care about is, it's a big inconvenience. You got to get another card in the mail, and then you got to update all your online bill pay. All the places.
I saw something online that's probably fake, but I thought it was funny. And it was a note. Someone had lost their wallet, and the person that found it sent the person a note. He's like, so here's all your IDs and credit cards and important things. I kept the cash because I really need to buy some weed. And I kept your Metro card because that's like really expensive now, but I gave you back everything.
Yeah. So I mean, like if you lose, and here's the thing, like, so I think it's like a paradigm shift for most people that, when you are your own bank, you technically can get, you can go and get a hardware wallet, right? It's like a USB, but it's, it has security built in right to it, and it's hardened, and you can get that hardware wallet. You can deposit you send your cryptocurrency to that wallet, and you need to protect that. And of course, you can make backups of it. You get most wallets have like 24 seed words that you can store on archival paper in a safe deposit box someplace. You can do those types of things to protect from loss. And then if you happen to lose that hardware wallet, you can go and you can basically clone that wallet again with those seed words, and it comes back and all your cryptocurrency is back there. So there's ways to protect against it, but I think most people still don't understand that personal security really needs to take it up a notch when you're dealing with cryptocurrency, because there is nobody to call. You can't call Bank of Bitcoin and say, hey, my Bitcoin wallet got stolen and I lost $100,000 worth. There is no one to call. There's no one to help you there if that happens.
Because the transaction fees are paid by the people in the cryptocurrency, right? I mean, it's essentially how mining works. I guess explain it for those that maybe haven't done.
Yeah. So basically, I guess in the simplest sense, basically the miners participate in the network to basically verify or validate the transactions that are going through. So the miners get paid for participating and keeping the network running, essentially. And that's in a proof of that. That's sort of in the proof of work model. And so there's a couple different models out there, but that's essentially what it's there for. So when you pay your fees aren't going to Bitcoin Bank, right? They're not going to some sort of centralized authority. They are getting distributed to the miners that are involved.
do you think that's a long-term viable strategy that can keep up with a market like this?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously there's people talk about sort of the energy consumption, right? So you hear about that where, it's, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but it's pretty high, right? It's a pretty high energy consumption. But if you compare that, of the Bitcoin network, you compare the energy consumption of the Bitcoin network, it probably is dwarfed by the just pure processing power of most banks. Right. So most of your large banks that are out there, if you think about, the massive data centers they have that run their online banking, that run all their, customer service systems and run everything that's involved. It's if you add up all those large banks, it probably dwarfs, what the Bitcoin networks are probably costing us from a power consumption standpoint. And, there's lots of movements out there to bring it to renewable energy as well. I think I read out there someplace that I think there's some country that's trying to build essentially it's like solar farms or renewable energy farms that are just going to power Bitcoin mining for their country.
But so there's no protection, but also like in your sense, is there a way to measure fraud? And I really think of Silk Road because one of the documentaries was just released on that. and it kind of, the story really centers around, there's the DEA agent that was one of the people who stole the Bitcoin, right, as part of that investigation.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you think about fraud, there isn't any what you would consider fraud happening on the Bitcoin network itself. So people aren't faking transactions on the Bitcoin network. When I think of fraud, I think of someone stealing a credit card and running up some charges, right? Or someone hacking into someone's bank account and wiring money out, right? I think of those types of things. Now, certainly people are having their Bitcoin wallets stolen, right? That happens.
You steal the private key.
I've heard of people storing their the wallet.dat file on a Google Drive, right, and having it's shared out to the world. Right, I've heard those things. So, that kind of Dropbox is a good example. I know lots of people that over the years that lost, things like Litecoin. They had a Litecoin wallet on their Dropbox account that was shared out by accident, and Litecoin disappeared. So, that kind of stuff that certainly happens, but I would say no more, no less than people, having a bag of money in their freezer and someone breaking into their house and stealing the bag of money, right? That kind of stuff happens, every single day, probably way more often than theft of cryptocurrency.
It's amazing that the algorithm is held up and stood up like that.
It certainly is. Yeah, it certainly has. And it's the power of the networks too, right? So the power of the network itself, there are cryptocurrencies out there that have suffered, something called a 51% attack, if anybody's familiar with that. And that's where if you control 51% of the nodes, essentially, that are involved in the verifying of the transactions, or the validation of the transactions, then you basically control the truth of the network. And that's not happening to Bitcoin, right? You would take a massive amount of computing power to be able to do that. But some of the fledgling sort of up and coming or just faltering cryptocurrencies out there that just never gained adoption. You hear from time to time that happens to them
because they can't build enough mass, enough nodes, basically.
Yeah, I mean, someone could say, "I'm going to go pick off this cryptocurrency project and fire up a bunch of AWS nodes and control the network."
That's really interesting.
From an exchange standpoint, what kind of security implications does that pose for you to have to defend against? And then also, what does that leave you guys liable from, information requests from law enforcement or cooperation of trying to have to account for transactions? What does that look like on an exchange side?
Yeah, so when there's especially when there's an attack, say there's a 51% attack. That has happened on various networks in the past. And what we will do when those types of things happen, we'll essentially suspend deposits and withdrawals of that cryptocurrency because we can't trust the network at that point. That just doesn't happen very often. I think it happened maybe once last year. And but that's what we would do. We would say we're suspending deposits and withdrawals for this cryptocurrency because this network is under a 51% attack, right? That's the kind of thing we would do. Now, as far as problems that happen, on an exchange, or as far as security implications, the vast majority of what I see, right, from a daily basis, or from an operational standpoint, is what we have. We have clients who decide to not use all of the security tools that we make available for them, right? And they things like multi-factor authentication, or and specifically multi-factor authentication. They don't utilize that, or they use passwords that they use the same password that they use on some cryptocurrency forum that gets hacked. And they chat on that cryptocurrency forum and say, "Hey, I have a Kraken account." It's in the criminals will just mine the internet for information about the individual, and then they'll go after them, or they'll get phished. And so those types of things happen, and we have a whole group that responds to law enforcement requests or legal requests when things like that happen, and that's their job. That's part of our compliance department, but compliance and legal department.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nick, are there other attacks that are kind of unique and different when you're talking about protecting a cryptocurrency exchange?
Yeah, I mean, so for our world, I mean, the exchange itself, or just having very, very good security hygiene, not only for like the security team. I think at most companies you have a security team that does all the things that they should be doing, and then you have it sort of like as it gets further and further away from the security team, the hygiene of the employees or the individuals that are participating in that organization or that company sort of drift off. All of us know about, see and hear that. I think, when I joined Kraken, the thing that impressed me the most, or actually what drove me to join Kraken, is the security culture at the company was heads and tails over anything I've ever experienced. In many regards, we internally talk about being a security company that happens to run a cryptocurrency exchange. And so the engineers, our IT folks, my span of responsibilities, if chief security officer, is not only just security. I have security, of course. I have IT under me. I also have our tech PMO group, and I also have engineering as well. And so, and that's by design, right? So since we're building and maintaining a highly secure exchange, having that sort of natural IT versus security or engineering versus security type struggles doesn't make any sense in our organization. That just can't happen. And so that whole group of people, those organizations are under my leadership here.
See, here I thought you would have certain challenges, and I don't want to say it's more challenging or less challenging, but you have different challenges than a lot of other organizations. A credit card company, financial, or any other organization, like you said, has that friction sometimes between security and IT, has cultural issues, has people that fall outside of IT and technology that have to understand security that most of the time, frankly, do not, right? Your challenges are very different. It sounds like your organization, we're all about security. We're a security company. Your challenges are protecting the currencies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're all in this together in this fight. It's not security is trying to fight the battle and everybody else is just sort of, having a party, right? So that it's really, we're all in this together fighting the battle. And we know that there are very, very hardened criminal groups, nation states, that would love to get after us, right? So, and we know that they try, and we see evidence of that daily. So, we have, our employees are targeted. We have lots of things that happen all the time, all day, 24/7. So the other thing that really drew me to joining Kraken was that it's a very, very unique. Basically, the threat landscape is very unique, and the stakes are very high. Versus, obviously security at any company is difficult, but the stakes here are extremely high. But what made it so much more attractive and much more enjoyable is that we're not fighting the internal battles of security. We're all we're all together fighting the external battle, which makes it really fun.
Nick, do you think there's enough money at stake, money in a loose term, currency at stake, that nation states are looking at this as an opportunity to steal in order to fund things within their government, right? Because we saw North Korea definitely behind, electronic criminal activities to steal money from a bank. I think that some of the ransomware certainly goes to some of the funding of nation states. It sounds like they also think of cryptocurrency as like, what are the stakes? Can I go build a missile program based on my profits? I'm going to go try and steal some cryptocurrency? Yeah,
potentially. Yeah, I mean, I think. When Bitcoin's market cap is like $1 trillion. We're getting close to that, depending on the day, right? So there definitely is enough money there, right, in value, and there's plenty to go around, right, in not just one cryptocurrency, right? So if you think about that, you can get to if you are a nation state or you are a criminal group. The nice thing about targeting cryptocurrency is that, for the most part, once you have it, no one can recover it from you. So it's not like once you grab it and you move it to one bank or you move it someplace else or you get a big box of cash, right? That someone could that's easily seizable. It's not in that regard. So it's very, very attractive, very easy to move around, and that's the nature of it. Just for you and I, it's very easy to move around. Just as easy for those groups. So it is a hot commodity, and that's the reason why us and any other cryptocurrency exchange has to have a very, very high security posture, right? Like it has to be very, very high, very, very elevated across all domains of security. It's not just, we just need to make sure that our website can't get hacked. Right? It's every area.
There's also a level of anonymity associated with it. To what degree does it provide anonymity?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are ways out there. People have written papers on how to do Bitcoin anonymously. It's I mean, I don't see it as much of an anonymity tool. I see it more of a financial freedom tool. But certainly if you go and you create a brand new wallet, and you're doing something online where you're trading, or you're not trading like an exchange point of view, but you want to exchange some goods online, and you're using like a pseudonym. You create a new handle someplace and you generate a public key and you tell someone, hey, send me 1 Bitcoin here, and they do, and you never used that wallet before, then they wouldn't be able to figure out really who you are. Right?
Yeah, because I don't have to create an account. I'm not creating an account with a bank.
No, you're generating a wallet. Anybody can.
Yeah.
Like you could download a Bitcoin wallet, within 10 minutes and have a public key that you can share, a public wallet address that you can share, and that's it.
Are there good resources out there for like the layman's as far as how to properly protect, do good, personal security, adopt some of these more security-centric ideas in kind of an easy to digest? Like, say, my parents want to do it. Like, I've tried to help them through some of this because they've asked questions, and like I've realized like this is probably not a good thing. You can't even multi-factor your phone, so.
Yeah, certainly. So I mean, for me, it comes down. So there's a couple of things. One, we actually built a project that we call Can I Secure, and so it's canisecure.com is the site. It has a handful of articles there. It is an open source type project. There's a GitHub repository that anybody can write an article or edit an article and do a pull request, and our Kraken Security Labs team sort of curates that and puts those articles up there. So that's something that I would love to see. It was more of a community thing that I would love to see sort of take off, where if someone's like, can I secure Facebook, or can I secure, my Bitcoin wallet, right? Like, it gives, have some tips there on how to do that. So that's out there. The other piece is really how I see, when I see, people suffering losses, right? That's where it really comes down to. When I see people suffering losses of cryptocurrency, in many regards, it comes down to just the same security basics that we as security professionals preach to people. So, having a unique, strong password on your email account, having two-factor authentication on that account, because if you're going to create accounts on exchanges, it all ties back to an email account, and if your email account gets hacked, in some cases, you can do like things like password resets. Or you can request, 2FA bypasses and things like that. So it really comes down to a lot of, just general personal hygiene is what most consumers need to do. Now that's if you're just sort of dabbling in it. Now, if you're someone who, has, millions of dollars in cryptocurrency, and you're a public figure, then, the stakes are a little bit different, right? Having just better than normal personal security hygiene is important, right? Trying to clean up your external exposure online so that, your personal information is out there, your home address isn't floating around out there. So those types of things. And then, of course, patching, updating your mobile device when there's updates available, updating your personal computer, just sort of really staying in front of those things. And then doing things, you can do things even further when you're dealing with like hardware wallets. There's a concept out there called multi-sig, where you actually can basically create a wallet that needs essentially participation of more than one wallet in order to sign a transaction. And so that's when you get to like more extreme levels, of value or worth within cryptocurrency. You need to pay attention to that so that you can actually, you could have one wallet that you hold in your hand. You could have one that you store someplace far away. You could have one that you have in a safety deposit box. Like, if you're using it as just a value.
This is the one I buy stuff on the dark web with. This is, never mind.
Yeah. I mean, so it's more of they're tied together, and you need all three, or you need 3 of 5 in order to actually, move funds. and that's important as well when you're dealing with high value, right? There's people out there that have thousands of Bitcoins, right? So it's not just a fraction of a Bitcoin, $100, $50 here and there.
Nick, what are your thoughts on criminals that are using cryptocurrencies and their ability to cash them out? I mean, because it's not really my assessment. It's not a way to launder money because you still got to get it out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are you concerned about that? They're going to use Kraken to launder it, or are there other ways do you think they do that?
Yeah, I mean, I would think they would use other places to do that. I mean, our exchange, you need to go through, like a KYC verification process in order to be able to, to do those types of things, just like you would at a bank. So, and so I would say there are probably other ways to maybe, move that money around, right? There's decentralized, exchanges where you can turn Bitcoin into things like US Tether. And then you just keep it all, sort of in the digital realm. Right, as a criminal group, you can pay for goods and services using it as well. So why ever have to flip it into cash?
We're not advocating that you do illegal things, though. Of course, don't do that. But the Silk Road story is interesting. Have you seen the movie?
I have not seen the movie. No.
It's pretty interesting. Begs a lot of questions, I think, about Ross's intentions, character, in the way that was investigating. But I think we've seen the proliferation of those underground markets just continue, right? I don't think we've done, like, the train left the station, basically. Is that kind of your feeling as well?
Well, I think the train always existed. So, I mean, I think the train has always left the station. I think, underground, economies have existed for centuries, right? I mean, that's always existed. I think whenever there's laws that say, you can't have X, Y, and Z, there will be people who say, I want X, Y, and Z. And how do you go about doing it? Right. And that's always existed. I mean, look at, or even in the United States, look at Prohibition. There was plenty of alcohol being created and sold right within the country during that same period of time.
Are there certain cryptocurrencies that Kraken is staying away from, or is there? We're seeing an emergence of a ton of different crypto. So what is the case where we start to see real solidified markets around? Obviously, Bitcoin's here to stay, Ethereum's here to stay. How do we know, like, all these new ones starting to come out, if they're viable to get into? Is there resources that you guys provide? Is there things that you look at when you're trying to decide whether to allow a crypto into your exchange?
Yeah, so we have a whole group within Kraken. It's called our Kraken Intelligence, and that's what they do is they analyze the global cryptocurrency markets. They analyze various cryptocurrency projects, and so when we list something on our exchange, there is a massive amount of due diligence that happens before we list something. It's not as if there's a new project that we hear about online and we go, this is pretty cool, let's just throw it in our exchange. That doesn't happen. Now there are exchanges out there who actually do that. Not that simply, but who just sort of list everything. And we're not one of those. We pay careful attention to those projects, understand the fundamentals of those. It goes through a compliance review, a legal review, like a technical review. There's a lot of activity that goes on before we decide to list something. But even before we decide to list something, we have to create the infrastructure as well. So we have to participate in that network as well. So we have to learn a great deal about it before it's even available to our clients.
Now, does that mean there's a monetary standpoint that you have to invest in order to begin dealing with inside that cryptocurrency?
No, not. Well, I guess it would be when we talk about monetary. It would be we're investing in our own resources before we decide to, but we don't have to pay to list a cryptocurrency, and then at the same time we also don't require those projects to pay us to list our cryptocurrency. We would list something because it makes sense for us to do so for us, our clients, and it meets all the regulatory requirements.
So I was wondering, you're doing all this due diligence at Kraken. Is there any way for Joe Rennan to figure out that this exchange is hot on due diligence and these guys just are phoning it in? Or how do you tell which way to go?
Yeah, unfortunately, there isn't a a exchange ranking service, right? That not even just ranking, though there are exchange ranking services. There's like CoinMarketCap, there's CoinGecko, where you can actually see exchanges, and we're from a global perspective, we're like number one in Europe, we're number two in the US, and we're probably number three in the entire world, right? From a global ranking, but that's not necessarily like it does take in a trust factor in there. It takes in liquidity. It takes into volume. It takes into in many cases, like how much web traffic is flowing towards us. And so there's a lot of pieces there. And so but there isn't a exchange certification that exists, at least not yet. Now there are, in some places there are regulations. And so we have for example, we have a futures platform. So it's Kraken Futures, where you can trade, Bitcoin futures, Ethereum futures. That is a regulated business of ours, and that's out of the UK. So it's regulated in the UK. And so in certain countries, those things exist, but in most places in the world, it's not yet fully regulated. So where there's a trust factor, where there's a seal of approval by some entity, or even a private entity where you can go and get a seal of approval.
Nick, are there other than that one regulations you mentioned in the UK? Are there any other regulations from any country that fall squarely on Kraken?
Yeah. Like in Japan as well, we are regulated in Japan. We had to go through and just like any other regulatory approval, it's piles of documentation, piles of paperwork, piles of or hours of discussions and interviews and things like that in order to become regulated in many of these countries. And so, but that does exist. The JFSA has a cryptocurrency regulation that we had to achieve in order to be able to take on and serve clients in Japan.
And no regulations here in the U.S. Have there been proposals here in the U.S. for any type of regulation?
Yeah, I think there have been. There is not yet.
Nothing's on the books in terms of law, right? Yeah, but there was something, I don't remember the details.
Certainly, there's laws like anti-money laundering laws. There are a lot of laws that we have to we have to abide by. But there's not the same type of thing like the JFSA, right? In the JFSA cryptocurrency regulations or crypto exchange regulations like that. In the U.S.
There's no PCI for cryptocurrencies.
There is not yet. No,
you're baiting me, Paul.
I was. This was your opera. I was surprised it took you this long to jump in, Jeff.
Yeah, there's not the PCI DSS for cryptocurrency exchanges.
It sounds like though organically you need to have.
Yeah, I think there are some out there, but they're not. There are some groups out there. I actually ran across one just recently where it's like a cryptocurrency, best practices. There's also some cybersecurity, scoring of cryptocurrency exchanges. They're not super robust.
Yeah.
They're nothing like a PCI DSS or when you think about like web trust certification for like CAs or something like that.
Yeah. It's like third party vendor. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing like that. If there was, we would participate in it.
What I was curious about, I guess, I actually was thinking along those lines of regulation. Do you feel like, Nick, that all the existing regulatory bodies that go after financial services, and I'm not even going to begin to try to name them all, but they're out there. Are they trying to regroup and revamp in order to sweep up cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrencies exchanges like Kraken, or do you think it's going to be something completely new and different?
I guess I would hope they would do something new and different, because I think if you try to fit like a square peg in a round hole, I think there's some things that sort of fall out from that, right? So I would hope that if there was going to be some regulatory body or that was created, or some sort of standard that was created, that it would understand and take into account the nuances of essentially what cryptocurrency itself, and the nuances of an exchange. I would hope.
I had thought I caught somewhere that FinCEN and OFAC were trying to get their nose in the door on cryptocurrency use and exchanges, but I can't find anything to back that up. Is that just saber rattling?
Yeah, I think there's been I think depending on, I think there have been some findings that have been levied. I think not on like an exchange like ours, but in some other areas in cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It sounds like it's all real new and virgin territory, though.
Yeah. It's definitely very new.
Nick, what's your thoughts on cryptocurrency as an investment? I think some people, very few do really well, and most others are kind of like in that break even or lose kind of thing. It's really kind of new, still new territory, correct?
Yeah, it certainly is. I think, I think it is a sound investment. I think if you, I would say, I'm not going to be someone who's going to make investment advice.
Yeah,
at
we
all,
don't give
right?
investment advice in any.
No investment advice. I think just like anything else, going all in on something could be problematic for you, right? So if you're like, I'm going to take my life savings and buy Doge, right? Like that probably isn't the best move. But if you use it as part of your portfolio, and I think there's many financial experts out there. I'm not a financial expert by any means, but there are people out there who have advocated to doing things like 1% to 5% of your portfolio in cryptocurrency as a hedge against other activities that are going on.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so I think that definitely is a viable investment. I mean, that's why we exist, right? We have millions of clients who think that it's a viable investment. So I certainly think so. I think if people out there want to get involved or dabble in it, start slow. Start start with some of the the more start with Bitcoin, right? That's the easiest one, right? It's not going anywhere. Before you go and you dabble into stuff out there that are very is very very early or maybe it might be very risky, right? So I would say of all the cryptocurrencies out there, Bitcoin is probably the least risky because it's the most it's the largest.
And so, you can buy in small amounts too, right? Like,
certainly. Yeah, you could buy $10.
Like buying a whole Bitcoin is really expensive now, right?
You could buy $10 worth and just hold on to it. I mean, you could set it up as an investment, strategy. You can say, every week I'm going to buy $25 worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I got you.
And it's you get dollar cost averaging on Bitcoin. As the price goes up and down, sometimes it goes up and down wildly. If you're in for the long run, just like you would, investing in the S&P 500.
Yeah.
Or if you'd bought it in 2009 and put it on a wallet and kept it safe, right, Tyler?
Not lost it.
Nick, can you tell we have fun with this with Tyler every week?
Because Tyler just looks like he's wants to give it. He's like, he just looks so defeated, and that shouldn't be funny, but for some reason it is.
To me, it's just
we love you, Tyler.
To me, it's motivation for him to find the damn thumb drive.
I know. Because one week Tyler's just not going to show up to anything, and that's when we know he's found it.
Do you think it's in your house someplace? Like where do you think you lost it?
Between my house, one of my offices, and in between 2 or 3 moves. Like it is somewhere, but there's at least 100 Bitcoin on that damn thing.
Oh wow.
And for the record, Tyler's house and office area is
many thousands of square feet, right?
Yes, yeah. It's you're not talking the 3,000 or 4,000 square foot house. You're talking.
He has his own castle or something.
Finder's fee.
Yeah.
I'll go out and look for a weekend.
You come look. I will split it with you.
There you go. Open offer. Larry, do you have questions for Nick? I know you've done a lot of cryptocurrency stuff.
No, I think it's fascinating that just from hearing Nick speak, in that for many years I would have gone to Nick and asked for security advice, which I'm still clearly need to go and ask Nick for security advice. But the fact that Nick has pivoted on a dime and is now that can tell us about cryptocurrency is just amazing and makes me appreciate Nick all the more.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising, Nick, knowing you, albeit not super well, but just knowing also that you're a hacker, and I find that that's a really great quality of a hacker. Like, if we want to go learn something, like, we'll go learn something. We'll dig in deep. Like, I don't know anything about cryptocurrency, and emerge like 3 days later, going, I think I've got it, right? I think that's a hacker quality. So it doesn't surprise me at all, Nick. No.
To balance things out, I'm looking at Nick a little bit sideways because of the change. Just, I'm open-minded. But to be honest, I'm like, what? Kraken?
It's funny. I first learned about cryptocurrency in Bitcoin from from some of the newer guys at Spider Labs when I was there. They were like, "Hey, we're mining this Bitcoin." It was 2010, right? I had no idea what they were talking about, and started learning more and more about it. But
like where did you get the shovels?
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Back when there were video cards.
yeah, we had a lot of spare GPUs laying around, right, in Spider Labs.
Oh, those were the days. I wish we could say. I mean, that is not what we say today. Like, I have a few spare GPUs, and it's like, I'm gonna back order on 3 different sites, and I've repurposed all of mine, and I've even sold some. I don't know. You could probably make a good money selling GPUs as you could cryptocurrency these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's like impossible to get now. But even back then, though, I mean, when we were building the whole purpose was not Bitcoin mining.
No, it was password cracking.
Should have been password cracking, right? I mean, building a password cracking rig that it had 9 GPUs in it, right? Cards in it, some things like that.
So I had sort of a outside question. I was having a conversation the other day with one of our development who was looking at a decentralized identifier network. And the product we were talking about was using the Bitcoin blockchain underneath it. And I'm thinking, are people leasing out their blockchains or other projects now? Is there money in that? Or are they just saying, hey, we got this stuff, come do whatever you want on it?
Yeah, I mean, that is a common, so, like if you think of the Ethereum blockchain or Polkadot, it's not uncommon for other, it's not uncommon for other projects to basically, utilize those blockchains, right? So if you think of Ethereum, there's hundreds of different tokens that could be issued or that have been issued, or thousands probably that have been issued on the Ethereum blockchain. So, I mean, there's a lot of applications of these blockchains that are not just the traditional, I want to send you some Bitcoin, right? When you hear about NFTs, right, that's been all sort of
is that like a flash in the pan, you think, or is that something that is here to stay, or is it going to level out?
I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I actually started playing around with it with my kids. Actually, just this past weekend, we created an OpenSea account and minted some crypto worlds that we made in sort of the 8-bit style, and so we put them up for auction. No one bid on them yet, and no one really cares. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really, really interesting. It's sort of the digital version of baseball cards and other things, or other rare things, right? So the interesting is because it's unique. The whole notion of a non-fungible token, right? It's you mint that item, and now I can trade it, and I can send you it, and then you own that digital aspect of it, and you can buy it from me, and it's not, I can't just make 15 copies of it, or at least not in that way.
And from my understanding, you could make 15 copies of it, and you could sell 15 copies, but you can create those chains so that if the recipient does that, the original creator can get royalty fees.
Oh, certainly. Definitely. You can define if you want it to just be unique. You can say you want it to be allowed there to be 50 copies. But the other thing is you can see where it changes hands and how much people paid for it as well. And so I might sell something for $15, and it's because it's like a 8-bit graphic. And someday, for whatever reason, it becomes wildly popular, and somebody buys it for $1 million, right? Like you can sort of see that progression, sort of stored in the blockchain.
And then, of course, if you were of that variety, that you could have that split to get royalty fees from that $1 million transaction and that type of stuff. I just was thinking about this, and that kind of dawned on me that thinking to the future, something like NFTs. Becomes interesting, because my understanding of that NFTs was sort of that proof of ownership, and that we could do away with automobile titles and land deeds and all of those paper records that are in the town hall, and replace them with NFTs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, conceivably it's cheaper. It's interesting when you think you get a VIN number with your car, but when I bought my e-bike, so do I need to register it or not? Well, it doesn't have a VIN number, and is that just because of a cost thing? And if it's digital,
but also it's proof of ownership. You have a sales receipt,
right,
for that e-bike. You could get an NFT for that e-bike, that you have proof of ownership that you bought that e-bike. The other one that to that sort of making copies and that type of stuff, and some of Paul's and my recent conversations over the last several years is that, I think about just going for the future and just seeing, mathematically, exponentially how things are moving, that you could, and I'm spitballing here, create a free NFT for a meme that you create. And that every time that meme gets used somewhere, you could track where that meme got used through that, quote, free NFT.
Yeah.
Interesting use cases, Larry.
I'm spitballing, and I don't even know if it's possible for something like that.
I was waiting to get made fun of for riding my e-bike to the smoothie shop, but
That's next. That's next.
Yeah, so I would say like the concept, I think right now we're in the sort of like, let's play around with it sort of phase, right? And there is real money changing hands for some of these, but I think the concept and the sort of that ability, I think that won't ever go away. Just like, Larry, like you mentioned, like it could be applied to land deeds, or it could be applied to objects in the physical world, could be verifiable in the virtual world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now I just want to know when we're going to use an NFT to buy a pizza. Yeah.
Nick, are you hiring? You looking for people?
We are, yes.
I figured as much. Given your challenge, I'm like I kind of imagine that you'd be hiring.
Yeah. So if you go to kraken.com/careers, we have lots of roles across every department within the company, but particularly, specifically security, IT, and engineering. We have a lot of roles open.
Is there an opening for lead curmudgeon?
Jeff,
yes, yeah, we just opened that today.
You'll be getting a resume.
So do you pay your staff in Bitcoin or in real money?
Great question, Lee. Great question.
Or do you diversify?
Yeah.
No, you can. So that's the fun part. Yeah, you can get paid in Bitcoin. Now, it is, so cool. It's not like you're getting paid under the table in Bitcoin. It's not and nothing like that. We actually have a system internally that you can allocate a percentage of your after-tax pay to Bitcoin. Now you can put it all there if you wanted, right? There, I think we have some employees that probably do that. Or you can take a portion of it. And so, you basically register your wallet address with us, and you say, I want, 1% or 100% of my pay. And then every 2 weeks when you get paid, you could check your wallet and you get a deposit made to it.
That's pretty cool.
That is really
That's
cool.
actually really cool.
So and Nick, you talked about that diversification and not investment advice and that type of stuff, but that's kind of neat. Like you can contribute to your 401k, and then you can contribute to your diversification with your Bitcoin wallet, and that's kind of neat.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, man. You can imagine, people in the company who have done that, right? Say they've been in the company for many years and they're putting in $100 a week or something into that. 401k, Bitcoin 401k. It's grown in value probably quite tremendously since then.
Probably a lot more than their regular 401k.
Oh yeah, definitely. It definitely has. Yeah.
Even on that aggressive growth fund. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Anything else you want to share with our audience, Nick, or ask our audience? I know you said you're hiring. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're looking for great people. I know the security communities, we have great people, great listeners on here. So I would love to, reach out to me on Twitter, right? So C75 on Twitter. Let's connect. And if you'd like to come work at Kraken, you like to work in cryptocurrency or in blockchain technology, it's a really fun and exciting place for security professionals. It's great challenges, fun, threat landscape that you have to deal with things every single day, and it's a good time.
Awesome stuff. Nick, thank you so much for appearing on Paul Security Weekly. It was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's been a great time.
With that, we'll take a short break. Come back with Robert Lemos coming up next.